Elsie, grandmother's words, "Even a broken clock is right twice a day," felt like a hollow echo. All she could hear was the whisper of an adage. One rotten apple spoils the barrel. She questioned every decision, every relationship, every carefully laid plan. Sleep evaded her, replaced by an endless loop of self-doubt. Every morning felt like wading through mush, and the simplest tasks became monumental burdens. The weight of her failure, the sting of Julian's betrayal, the crushing blow to her professional pride, it all threatened to suffocate her. She found herself replaying conversations, dissecting interactions, searching for clues she'd missed, red flags she'd ignored. Had she been so blinded by her ambition, so consumed by her meticulously crafted world, that she'd missed the obvious signs of its impending collapse? The more she questioned, the deeper she sank. The what-ifs became relentless tormentors. What if she'd worked less and spent more time with Julian? What if she'd taken Maya's advice and slowed down? What if she'd challenged the problematic data instead of blindly trusting her team? The past became a minefield of regrets, each step forward fraught with the risk of triggering another explosion of self-blame. But within Elsie's distress, there was a stubborn ember of determination, a refusal to be defined by her setbacks. A small voice inside her whispered, "You are more than this. You are not defined by your failures." It was a faint, almost imperceptible sound, but it was enough to keep her from completely succumbing to despair. It had reminded her of the fierce, independent woman she once was, the woman who wasn't afraid to take risks, to challenge the status quo, to dream big dreams. That woman was still in there, buried beneath layers of disappointment and self-doubt. But she was there. She began to search, to seek solace and guidance. Dusted off the self-help books she'd once devoured, but this time she read them with a different perspective. She wasn't looking for quick fixes or foolproof formulas for success, but for understanding, compassion, for a path forward that acknowledged the pain she was feeling. She stumbled upon an article about resilience, about the ability to bounce back from adversity, to learn from setbacks, and to emerge stronger on the other side. The article spoke about the importance of self-compassion, of treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. For so long, Elsie had been her own worst critic, holding herself to impossibly high standards, berating herself for every mistake. Now, she realized that she needed to be kinder to herself, to acknowledge her pain, to forgive her flaws. She also explored the concept of reframing, of changing the way you think about your experiences. Instead of viewing her failures as evidence of her inadequacy, she began to see them as opportunities for growth, as lessons learned the hard way. She started journaling, pouring out her thoughts and feelings onto the page, giving voice to her pain and her fears. It was a cathartic process, a way to release the pent-up emotions that had been weighing her down. One afternoon, while aimlessly scrolling through the shopping center, in desperate search for something, anything, that could offer more glimmer of hope, Elsie was intrigued by an ad for Kintsugi, the art of repairing pottery, the practice of repairing broken pottery with gold, transforming flaws into features. The images captivated her. Shattered bowls and vases, lovingly pieced back together with shimmering gold lacquer. The cracks were not hidden or disguised. They were celebrated, highlighted, transformed into intricate patterns that added to the object's beauty and value. The symbolism resonated deeply within her. Kintsugi wasn't just about repairing broken objects. It was about embracing imperfections, about finding beauty in flaws, about acknowledging the history and the resilience of the object. It was a metaphor for her own life, for her own shattered dreams. Elsie began to see a parallel between Kintsugi and her own life. She wasn't meant to be a perfect, flawless teacup. She was meant to be a Kintsugi heart, mended with gold, stronger and more beautiful for having been broken. But what kind of gold did she possess? How could she transform her painful experiences into something valuable? It was a daunting question, but she knew she had to try. Her career and relationship were shattered, yes, but they didn't have to be discarded. They could be rebuilt, stronger and more beautiful, with the gold of her experiences, her wisdom, and her newfound understanding of herself. It was then that Elsie's life started to change. She felt a stirring of purpose, a renewed sense of direction. She enrolled in a pottery class, drawn to the tactile nature of working with clay, to the meditative process of shaping and molding. of creating something new from raw materials. The feel of the cool clay between her fingers was soothing, a welcome distraction from the relentless cycle of her thoughts. Elsie learned to shape the clay, to mold it, to coax it into taking form. There was something profoundly therapeutic about the process, a sense of creating something tangible from nothing, of taking control in a world that felt utterly chaotic. She found a sense of peace and focus in the rhythmic turning of the pottery wheel. In the feel of the clay between her fingers, she deliberately made mistakes, creating cracks and imperfections in her creations. Then, she experimented with different techniques, trying to fill the gaps with gold leaf, with epoxy resin dusted with gold powder, with anything that could symbolize the transformation of brokenness into beauty. She wasn't trying to create perfect pieces. She was embracing the imperfections. The wobbles, the uneven edges, seeing them as part of the object's unique character. The process was messy, frustrating, and often unsuccessful, but a painstaking, requiring patience, precision, and a steady hand. But with each attempt, she learned something new, not just about pottery, but about herself. Elsie discovered a hidden well of patience she never knew she possessed. She learned to accept imperfection, to appreciate the unique character of each piece, flaws and all. Carefully, Elsie cleaned the broken pieces, painstakingly aligned them, to apply the lacquer and gold dust with meticulous care. Each piece she mended felt like a small act of healing, a symbolic representation of her own journey of self-repair. Then, Elsie found a new calling as a mentor for young professionals facing similar career struggles. She started by offering her advice to former colleagues, sharing her experiences, both the successes and the failures, offering practical advice. She discovered solace in helping others navigate the treacherous waters of the corporate world, and realized that her experiences, even the painful ones, gave her a unique perspective, a wisdom that no textbook could provide. She could see the subtle signs of burnout, the anxieties masked by bravado, the self-doubt lurking beneath the surface of ambition. Elsie's honesty and vulnerability resonated with many young professionals. Are you in this kind of situation? Don't forget to check out Part 1. Elsie didn't sugarcoat her challenges, but shared her story, with vulnerability, admitting her mistakes, acknowledging her fears, and highlighting the lessons she had learned. This is an encouragement and a reminder that setbacks are not failures, but opportunities for growth. She helped them develop resilience, build stronger support networks, and prioritize their well-being, to see that their careers were not the only measure of their worth, and that true success came from living a life that was aligned with their values and passions. Through her mentorship, Elsie found a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. Her worth wasn't defined by her job title or her salary, but by the positive impact she could have on others. Elsie realized that her experiences had not only broken her, but had also given her the tools to help others heal. Yes, she became a beacon of hope for those who were struggling, a testament to the power of resilience and the possibility of turning scars into gold. As she went back to dating, she adopted the byword, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. She cautiously dipped her toe back into the dating pool, hesitant at first, but determined to approach it with a new perspective. Elsie was no longer trying to project an image of perfection, but rather embracing her imperfections, her vulnerabilities, and her past experiences. She shared her story with potential partners, not as a sob story, but as a testament, not looking for a perfect partner, or someone who would complete her, or fix her broken pieces, but was looking for someone who would appreciate her for who she was, flaws and all. Someone who was also willing to be vulnerable and authentic. Elsie went on dates that were awkward, disappointing, and sometimes downright disastrous. She didn't give up. She realized that dating was like Kintsugi. With each experience, she learned more about herself, about what she wanted in a partner, and about what she was willing to offer. She met men who were kind, intelligent, and interesting, but ultimately not the right fit. She learned to trust her intuition, to recognize red flags, and to walk away from relationships that weren't serving her. Yet, her love life remained a barren desert. Despite her best efforts, she struggled to find a meaningful connection. She started to wonder if she was destined to be alone, if her past experiences had made her incapable of finding love again. The fear of repeating past mistakes, of being hurt again, loomed large. Elsie was still searching for that perfect fairy tale romance, that elusive happily ever after. As she yearned for the comfort and security of a committed relationship, for someone to share her life with, to love and be loved unconditionally. One day, her close friend, Maya, remarked, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket." Elsie realized how heavily she relied on her significant other, and that her happiness should come from within. It was a gentle but powerful reminder that Elsie needed to nurture her own passions and interests, to cultivate her own sense of self-worth, and to find joy in her own company. Maya's words were a wake-up call. Elsie began to prioritize self-care, setting aside time each day for activities that nourished her mind, body, and soul. She took long walks in nature, practiced yoga, read inspiring books, and spent time with her friends and family. Elsie rediscovered her love of painting, creating vibrant, expressive artworks that reflected her inner world, and realized that she didn't need a romantic relationship to be happy or fulfilled. She was a Kintsugi heart, mended with gold, strong and beautiful in her own right. And when the right person came along, someone who appreciated her for who she was, not for who she could be, she would be ready. Her scars, once hidden away, became badges of honor, reminders of her resilience and strength. She was no longer trying to piece herself back together perfectly, but rather embracing the beautiful, imperfect mosaic that she had become, and stopped trying to conform to societal expectations of beauty and success, and instead embraced her own unique style. Elsie looked in the mirror and saw a strong, vibrant woman, like a beautiful Kintsugi piece, showing the power of healing. Because Elsie, the accidental alchemist, had finally discovered that true love begins with self-love. Her journey of self-discovery is only just beginning. Will she face any obstacle in finding the right man or a better career? Subscribe to our channel to find out in the next episode, The Accidental Alchemist, turning scars into gold. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs a little bit of inspiration.